By the year 2026, humanity had solved almost everything. Disease, distance, death, at least the accidental kind. It had, in other words, made itself perfect. And then, every 4 years, it stopped everything it was doing, pointed every screen and satellite and synthetic eye in the known galaxy at a rectangle of grass, and watched 22 unmodified human bodies chase a ball. For 20,000 years, nobody could explain why this game survived everything else. Tonight, you might understand. In another world, everything you know never happened. This is that world. Welcome to Take 2. The ball is already moving. It has been moving for 83 minutes. 22 bodies on a field of light, suspended between the Earth and the Moon, playing a game that is older than the civilization watching it. Nobody here was born on the same planet. Nobody here traveled less than 10,000 kilometers to be present for this. And still, the thing at the center of it all is a sphere, round, weightless, moving from foot to foot the way it always has. Nobody told the cosmos to hold its breath. It just did. The Pangea 2 is not a stadium in any sense the word once meant. It is a sphere of plasma crystal 10 kilometers wide, floating in gravitational equilibrium between two worlds. It has no walls made of concrete, no roof made of steel. The structure is transparent, a skin of ionized glass that lets you see, from the center of the field, the full panorama of deep space in every direction. Stars in every quadrant. The moon hanging in the upper left corner of the sky like something someone placed there carefully. From the grass, the players look up and see the universe. They look down and see turf. Above the center circle, floating in perfect stillness, the dodecahedron referee casts its golden light on everything below. A synthetic intelligence so advanced it processes every variable of the match simultaneously. Position, velocity, contact, intent, and makes decisions in intervals shorter than human perception. It has never made an error, not once. Not in any of the 47 World Cup finals it has presided over since its first appointment in the year 21,790. It is perfect, and it is watching 22 imperfect humans do something it cannot do. That is the only reason it is here. The plasma ball moves across the field in a burst of electric blue. A Portuguese defender intercepts. A pass back. A switch of play. The patterns are beautiful and they are not designed. They are remembered in the muscles, in the reflexes, in the 20,000 years of accumulated football knowledge that lives in the bodies of the men on this field and nowhere else. 83 minutes. 11 against 11. Earlier in the match, it feels like years ago now, the Argentine striker met a cross at the far post. The plasma ball crossed the line in a burst of electromagnetic light, and Buenos Aires, 36,000 kilometers below, lost its mind. Picture that city in 22,026. The obelisco still standing at the center of everything, exactly where it was placed in 1936, encased in a preservation field so thin it is barely visible. A blue shimmer around a concrete monument that outlasted empires, political systems, 3 separate civilizations built on the same river basin. Around it, graphene towers 2 kilometers tall, elevated highways carrying vehicles that never touch the ground, the Rio de la Plata lined with floating platforms that extend the city into the water for 40 kilometers in each direction. But in the bars of Palermo, they still put the mate on the table. On a floating platform above the Rio de la Plata, An old man watched the match projected in holographic scale above the river's surface. When the goal went in, he stood up. He put his hands in the air. And then, when Argentina missed the penalty 20 minutes later, when the plasma ball hit the post and the sound of near miss traveled through the resonant system of the Pangea to and into every chest simultaneously, he sat back down. He covered his face with his hands, and then he steadied himself. Portugal received the equalizer the way it receives everything, with the Tagus as witness. The river has seen caravels leave for seas that had no maps. It has seen the city burn and rebuild. It has watched 20,000 years of human transformation from the same banks, the same hills, the same light that comes off the Atlantic in the late afternoon and makes everything look briefly sacred. The azulejo tiles of the Alfama, painted blue and white, declared galactic heritage in the 200th century, protected by a charter that has more legal weight than the constitutions of 40 planetary governments, are still exactly where they were. The fado still plays in streets now covered by climate membranes. The same minor key, the same weight. When Portugal equalized, the Tagus lit up for 20 kilometers. The public hologram above the river, 20 kilometers wide, projected onto the water's surface and into the sky above it, showed the header in real time, and then again, and then again. Boats and floating platforms packed with fans in crimson and green rocked in the waves made by the celebration itself. 2 cities. 2 names, 1 game, and 68,000 kilometers of space between them and the field where everything is being decided. Midway through the second half, an Argentine midfielder went down, not from a tackle, not from contact. His body simply reached the end of what it was willing to give voluntarily and started negotiating on its own terms. While the medical robots rushed onto the field, armored synthetic frames bearing red cross markings, articulated mechanical limbs moving with precise clinical efficiency, diagnostic light scanning an organic body that 20,000 years of technology had never fully learned to read. The first article of the Interplanetary Football Federation's governing charter is the most protected document in the galaxy, not because of what it grants, because of what it forbids. No cybernetic reflex implants, no genetic resistance modifications, no external neural assistance of any kind. The body that takes the field must be the body that was born. In a universe where modification is not augmentation, but expectation. 22 men on a floating sphere between 2 worlds, playing with the exact same biological equipment their ancestors used in 1930, in 1966, in 2026. Because error, it turns out, is not a flaw in the system, it is the system. The Argentine midfielder got up, slowly, using his arms, pushing up from the turf the way people have been pushing up from the ground since before there was a word for the ground. The stadium released something, not quite a sound, more like a collective exhale, a million chests decompressing simultaneously. Look at these bodies, 22 of them moving across a field of light while the universe watches through a dome of crystal. Not one implant between them, not one modification, just muscle and bone and the specific electricity of a nervous system that evolution spent 4 billion years building. The dodecahedron above them floated in its patient golden light. Extra time. The Pangea 2 exterior was still. The docked shuttles motionless. The traffic between Earth and Moon, which never stops, which flows like a river of light, appeared to slow. 119 minutes and 40 seconds. A Portuguese midfielder received the ball in space. The ball moved. The Argentine goalkeeper dove. He was right about the direction. He was 3 centimeters short. The Pangea too became light. The plasma crystal sphere pulsed crimson and green. Acoustic resonance waves moved through the oxygenated air in visible rings, like sound made solid. Holographic fans from every Portuguese colony in the solar system materialized in the upper tiers, from the domes of Mars, from the outer belt stations, from installations so far from the sun that Earth is just a bright point in the dark, filling every space with projected light and real noise transmitted across the void. The Portuguese players collapsed onto the turf, not gracefully. They fell the way people fall when something they have been holding for 120 minutes is finally allowed to go. Arms around each other, faces pressed into the luminescent grass, tears on organic faces under the light of 1,000 stars. The dodecahedron descended to field level for the first and only time in the match. It projected the trophy into the air, a 3-dimensional structure of golden light, the Interplanetary World Cup, the most contested object in the known galaxy. And the Portuguese captain walked toward it. He reached up with his hands, his unmodified, unaugmented, biological human hands. And he took it. Lisbon was already singing. The azulejo tiles of the Alfama were wet that night, not from rain. In the streets below the floating castle, the Tagus reflected a city that had become, in one instant, entirely one feeling. Later, when the stadium was empty and the Pangea too had begun its slow 4-year wait, the plasma ball rested at the center circle. Still, the marks of 22 bodies pressed into the luminescent turf, scuffs and slides, and the specific imprints of humans who ran until they couldn't, and then ran again. And somewhere far below, in a cobblestone street in Lisbon that hasn't changed its shape in 800 years, a child was kicking a football against a wall. Not a plasma ball, just leather, round, bouncing back the way it always has. 20,000 years. A species that learned to cross the void between stars and still couldn't replicate the specific satisfaction of a ball meeting the inside of a foot at exactly the right angle. Maybe the game survived, not because we protected it, but because we couldn't replace it. And we knew. Subscribe, like, and comment, because there are infinite other versions waiting for you. The next Take 2 drops soon.